consumer grade imaging business. But what they have finally done is they have removed themselves completely from the digital imaging. So like actual cameras. So they might still make some stuff for other devices, and we'll get to that in just a little bit, but I found it extremely interesting because you start seeing all these little trends over time. And when you start seeing these little trends, it kind of starts to lead into something that's a lot bigger. So, one little hunk of information doesn't really, it doesn't really mean much. But when you start to connect that dot to the next dot, and then to the next dot, you start to build a much more complete picture of either what's going to happen or what's already happening, and some people just haven't put all the pieces together and created that picture for where we're planning on going. So before I get started, I just want to remind everyone that if you happen to like this video, don't forget to thumbs it up and also subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Also, if you would like to support me on Patreon, you can head on over to my Patreon page and make a small donation. You don't have to do anything big. It's just a little bit extra to help me keep doing my channel. But if you prefer to get actually something out of the deal besides just my content, you can also run on over and grab some merchandise. I've got some really cool, interesting photography t-shirts and stuff that I think that most of you guys would probably wear. If not, you guys have got to start letting me know what you want to wear, because I have no idea. I just make stuff that I think that I would really like. So at any rate, let's go ahead and get started. And it starts with this article. This article right here, it says, it's by The Investor. It says that Samsung ditches the digital camera business. And I thought, what, that's kind of a clickbaity title. What exactly does that mean? What is that actually going to be translating into? And I had a kind of hard time figuring out, because I knew that they weren't going to do a whole lot, right? I knew that they weren't going to do a whole lot more with the camera business that they already had. And if that wasn't the case, then what exactly, were they going to do? So here's what it says, and I'm going to create a more perfect picture based on all the information that we know so far, okay? It says here, Samsung Electronics has recently stopped producing and selling digital cameras, hinting at the Korean tech giant's departure from the waning market. So I was interested in that sentence right there, the waning market. Industry sources said on April 7th. So this was a few days ago, but I'm just now kind of picking up on it. Anyway, it says, and this is a quote, we no longer produce and sell digital cameras, end quote, said a Samsung official on condition of anonymity. But we will create a new camera product category to continue the business. So I'm not exactly sure what type of category they're actually talking about here, but, these small dots here are interesting. Now, we knew that when Samsung got into the business that they were going to make a pretty good splash, and I think that they did, especially with the camera, the NX1. I thought it was a great camera. I didn't buy it because I was already getting into Sony at that time, but Samsung had some amazing autofocus tech. And I hate to even say the words autofocus with all the GH5 stuff going on right now. But Samsung had an amazing camera in the NX1. Bleeding edge stuff, because no one else was really able to compete until the Sony a6300, a6500, stuff like that started coming around. So a lot of people were really excited about what the potential was going to be for Samsung in the future. But here we are a year and a half to 2 years later, and now they are completely out of the business altogether. I mean, all of it. And like I said, the thing that kind of really caught my eye was where it says the giant's departure from the waning market. And I thought that's very interesting. So let's dive in just a little bit more about this, because here's the timeline we've got going on. The timeline that we have is that this was back in December 23rd on 2015. In 2015, it says Samsung denies withdrawal from the digital imaging business or a potential Nikon sellout. Okay, so this was roughly about a year and a half ago. They were basically denying that they were not going to be getting out of the business and that they were not going to be selling out to Nikon. And then if we look here, on January 8th, 2016, not a single Samsung camera or lens was on display at the 2016 CES show. So they didn't even bring anything. Absolutely nothing to CES. And that is where most camera manufacturers start to hype up their new products for the year is CSS, okay? So the fact that they didn't have anything was kind of telling. And it wasn't really enforcing their initial lie on December 23rd, 2015, that they weren't going to be getting out of the business. And then, this is only a few days later, on January the 13th, they said, almost all Samsung NX lenses are now listed as closeout at Adorama. Now, forward, and this is literally like 2 weeks later, that we went from January the 13th to January the 28th. It says Samsung canceled their booth at the 2016 Photokina show. Again, not looking very good. I mean, that's brutal. Extremely brutal. Now, we go forward less than a month, and we're up to February 23rd, 2016. Samsung India, we have officially discontinued manufacturing of cameras. And this right here is where we knew for sure that things were starting to kind of go downhill. But this is a larger implication of other industries within the camera market, right? Because we're seeing so many of these sort of like quote-unquote and this was in May. So they managed to go a couple of months with almost no news. And in May of 2016, on the 26th, it says, Samsung exits the digital camera market in Australia. Okay? They got rid of it in India, and then they got out of it in Australia. I mean, it just keeps happening. It's kind of sad, I gotta be honest. And then it says, after the UK, Germany, and several other countries, Samsung also exited the digital camera market in Australia. All right, now, 2 years later, this is literally the announcement that came out on April the 7th. And it's kind of sad. Samsung is done with digital cameras altogether. This report comes from a Samsung official who agreed to speak on the condition of anonymity. We will no longer produce and sell digital cameras. So now it is official. No official PR report has been released by Samsung themselves, so this is an insider. I don't know exactly when they do plan to make this announcement, but I mean the writing's been on the wall for a very, very long time, and we kind of knew that. Now I'm going to go ahead and say some nice things about Samsung so no one thinks that I'm a fanboy of one company or the other. Samsung made a fantastic camera. The NX1 was probably one of the best during its time, one of the best autofocusing cameras ever. So it was very, very popular with a lot of people. But now that they are completely out of the business and they're trying to do some sort of restructuring, or they're going to be creating a quote-unquote new digital we're going to create a new product category, a camera product category. So I don't know what category has not been created thus far, but it seems as though we're going to get a new camera product category. I'm interested. I can't say that I'm overly excited, but I'm interested. So now let's go ahead and move forward just a little bit. Now this should interest a lot of people. I know that it interests me. This is the latest camera sales chart that shows the compact camera is near death. Now, this was released on March the 3rd. So we're only talking a little bit over a month ago. And you have to really look to kind of understand, but here's what it was. Now, this is the compact market, the DSLR market, the mirrorless market, and then the smartphone market. And as you move through this chart, and you go from, basically when imaging first started out, from 1933, and then you get all the way. So the compact digital and the smartphone, look, you have to look at these things. Mirrorless is still a very small market share. But look at the blue line, and then look at the orange line. The orange line are the smartphones, and look at how much from 2009 all the way up until today, how much the smartphone market is just killing it. I mean, absolutely destroying it. And that's crazy. I mean, and it's not just affecting like one kind of market. It's affecting all of the markets. As a matter of fact, you can even see that the DSLR market is shrinking by like a lot. It seems to have peaked somewhere right around here, around 2012 or so. But this is a severe indication, and it's a very clear indication of exactly what is going to be happening very, very soon. Not just to DSLRs, not just to compact digital cameras, but to every segment of the market. Action cams, drone cameras. I mean, literally everything is going to begin to become affected because of the smartphone market. And damage will actually go over time. I would like to have a crystal ball to know just how much better the cameras are going to be getting on the cell phones, because there are more and more devices and stuff that's set up to utilize smartphones and make them extremely useful. But Samsung absolutely positively just destroying their digital camera market says a lot, that they were not even willing to try after creating probably a factory and employing a bunch of people and trying to produce an amazing camera, which they did. But they couldn't even last for 2 or 3 years before it was just, they just said, we quit. You know, we give up. So that is extremely telling. I'm really surprised at how bad that I think it has gotten thus far, and how bad it's probably going to get in the future. So now I also wanted to take a look at this. Out of the 2 billion people that have smartphones on this planet, the top 2 reasons that people use are for taking photos, is number 1, and text messaging. Okay, but you look just below that, and what do they do also? They do internet browsing. They love to send photos. They do most of their emailing, app downloads, and gaming. And all of this is over 50%. Everyone that's using a smartphone are doing all these activities, and probably doing them pretty effectively as well. Think about how much stuff that we used to have or used to use, or all the products that we used to indulge in, as far as little items around the house. You know, we used to have alarm clocks. We don't use those anymore. I mean, who the hell has an alarm clock anymore? You use it on your phone. We used to have, separate music players. No one has that. When was the last time you seen a stereo head unit in someone's house? Okay? When was the last time you saw anything of that nature in someone's place? I mean, they're taking photos, not with compact cameras, not with point and shoots. Most of them are not even taking them with DSLRs anymore. Most of them are definitely not taking them with mirrorless. They're taking photos with their phones. Okay? Most of their communications are now going through text messages. Most of their internet browsing is not done on an iPad, it's not done on a laptop, and it's not done on a desktop. Why would you even concern yourself with those larger items if you can get it done on your phone? Most people are now sending photos through their phone too. If anyone has ever been an iPhone user, you would absolutely positively see, without a shadow of a doubt, that internet browsing and sending photographs and text messaging, it's so much easier to do it just on your phone. Like, why would you have to have a separate device? So it's eliminating devices the further we go. As far as like emailing and app downloads, a lot of people are getting exactly what they need, because a lot of these apps are custom tailored for very specific uses and problems. They solve problems. So we're getting rid of all of this stuff. We're getting rid of alarm clocks, and we're getting rid of stereos, and we're getting rid of, reminders. No more, when was the last time you wrote a note down? I mean, I almost always record it down onto my phone. So Samsung shutting its doors, shuttering its complete and total digital camera business. that is the clear sign. That is the clear indication that that is the future for other potentially other digital imaging companies. So Nikon's already kind of taken a little doo-doo. They're already saying we've got extraordinary losses. They're laying people off. Canon just can't seem to get their shit together, like whatsoever. They have yet to have a prosumer camera with 4K built in because they don't want to cannibalize their, cinema line of cameras. So, a lot of people are struggling. They're trying to figure out what the hell are we going to do to save our business? And there's only a couple of companies at this point that are actually innovating, that are actually doing anything about it. Now, when it comes to cameras, when it comes to cell phones, you have to look at the fact that we now have stuff like this. Now, I actually own this thing. It's called the B-Script Pro. It's a fantastic device for cell phones. It's basically a small rig where it has cold shoe. It has quarter 20 taps all over the thing. They've just recently announced a new depth of field adapter. It's the Mark II. And this thing is just crazy good. So good, in fact, that you can attach Canon lenses to this. Okay, now obviously there's not going to be any electronics that are built in. Obviously this is going to be manual focus, but I just got a shit ton of crap because of the video on the GH5 being, who the hell uses autofocus? But anyway, so all of you manual focus guys, you're going to love this stuff. So if you happen to start getting into iPhone or, cell phone videography, you might want to look into this stuff because, yes, we have extremely small sensors in the cameras right now, but software is helping to eliminate a lot of those issues. So if you have big companies that have the financial capital to actually make a splash, make a difference, and did make a difference, like Samsung did with the NX1, and now they are just out of the game altogether, you have to ask yourself, what exactly is going on behind the scenes? Because I got to be honest, Nikon has been around for a very, very long time. Canon has been around for a very, very long time. Both of these companies have 50 years or so underneath their belt. But it doesn't mean that they get to stay there forever. It doesn't mean that they're going to be immune, to all of this controversy. This is a disruptive technology. A lot of people they want to act like they're not going to take these seriously. Okay. They're going to, no one's going to ever do that. No one's ever going to use that or whatever. And people keep saying that. And yet every single year, something else is a breakthrough. There's another invention. There's another revelation. There's another evolution of the tech. And then, a few more people shut up, they're, I'm sorry, my bad. I didn't mean it. There is some good stuff coming out. There are some good things that could be done. But yeah, you have to look at stuff like this. This is an evolution of technology. So I'm not going to say, right here that cell phones are going to just, beat the shit out of, full size, full frame DSLRs. There are some things that involve physics that I don't think many people can get around, but there is a chance that software could enhance those things, could make those things better, could in theory make it so that it's so tolerable or that it's so unnoticeable that no one would really care. I don't want to see camera manufacturers go out of business. I really don't, because I think that the more options that we have in the marketplace, the easier it's going to be for us to have, I don't know, it's going to project forward. It's going to drive the market forward. And like I said, if your particular company is not innovating, whether it be Nikon or Canon or Fuji or whoever, if that company is not innovating, they're not going to last very long because less and less people are using anything except this. Okay, so if the market shrinks, there's only going to be a few of us that actually need certain things. I don't know where that line is going to end, though. So I'd be happy to hear what you guys think. But I'm afraid that if it gets to the point where there's only 2 or 3 companies or even less that are actually catering to our segment of the market, where we actually want, large frames, where we want advanced features like log, where we want high speed, everything. We want high bit rates and all that. Most of the consumers out here, they have no clue. But the problem is that a lot of these tech companies are just building stuff in without ever explaining. So it's very interesting that there's a chance that we may just accidentally get some of these extremely high-end features in stuff like cell phones without even having to ask for them, just so that the tech companies can steal yet even more business away from the camera giants. Okay? I might be wrong. I'm kind of spitballing there, but it's a very, very real possibility. You also have to look at stuff like this too, the Rodelink Filmmaker Kit. You're literally talking about a $400 wireless setup that you can carry directly on top of this. I mean, it's got a cold shoe. And then, depending on whether you're in the dongle life like I am, or you have like a Samsung Galaxy S8, I mean, you've got a 3.5 millimeter that can literally do wireless audio. This is not unreasonable. This is not out of the realm of possibility. These could, in fact, be real things that could happen. So you take something like this, like the B-Script Pro, and then you combine it with a very low-cost, cheap, and I say cheap in the relative sense, but, $400 for the Rodelink Filmmaker Kit. Or if you wanted to go ultra cheap, I mean, you've got something like this, the Rodelink, or the Rode Video Micro. And for any of you that haven't used this particular microphone, it is absolutely phenomenal. It is an excellent microphone. It really is a great sounding microphone. You guys probably don't realize it, but I have recorded so many of my videos using that microphone. And it is fantastic. I mean, especially for $60. I mean, it dramatically increases the fidelity of even some of the shittiest audio. So I'm really, I'm both interested to see where the market ends up going. I am also really interested to see how far it takes us. Cell phones are not what they used to be. Before it's just like you flip it open, you dial some numbers, you make a call. You might take, a half-assed shitty picture with the horrendous camera that was on there before. But I mean, tech reviewers, let's just take, for instance, MKBHD, stuff like that. These guys are actually reviewing the cameras from an extremely technical standpoint, and don't think for 1 second that these tech reviewers that are highly and effectively evaluating the cameras that are built into these phones, it's not catching the attention of the manufacturers. Okay? Apple and Samsung are listening to this stuff, and they are improving their cameras every single year, trying to compete. And I'm beginning to wonder if there's ever going to be a chance that the technology between cell phone and digital imaging will finally be synonymous with one another. And with anything, some people will make better use of the technology than others. And some people will create and produce better content than others. But will it be good enough that most people would say, I don't really know, and I really don't care. I can create some amazing stuff, and it's just about all that I need, especially when you combine it with stuff like the depth of field adapter. I mean, you're literally able to mount high-quality glass onto the front of your phone. I'm going to predict it now that it's only a matter of time before we actually have interchangeable lenses on our phone. It's coming. I don't know when. I don't know who's going to make the first step and make that happen, but it's going to happen. It's coming. I'm telling you guys. So if I apologize for all the buffering. Some of you guys have been indicating that the stream was buffering a little bit, so I do apologize for that. And I appreciate all you guys coming and hanging out with me today. So I'm going to read a couple of comments. And I was honestly, I was really trying my best to get the chat to actually show up on the screen today. I don't know what the hell happened. I'm not for sure why it didn't work out, but I'm going to read what you guys are saying. So let me see how far back I got to go. I should have been reading some of this. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Roland Hewitt says, I'm actually dreading that I'm about to hear something on this talk. on this topic. Yeah, it really was. It's a scary situation because I don't want really good, high quality professional stuff. Oh, I'm not going to say professional, just even mid tier stuff. Like A6300, A6500, GH5 type stuff, the 80D type stuff, the Nikon D7200 type stuff. All of those cameras are both simple enough, yet advanced enough that someone that's just getting into photography or videography can go that route and then grow into more professional or more advanced features. Sully says, didn't they already announce that they were getting out of cameras? They did. But we also have to realize that it was over a span of time. And it really did take they were announcing they were getting out of cameras in like different locations. They were kind of like, okay, we're getting out of it in India, and now we're going to get out of it in Australia. So it was like this slow progression, and everyone could kind of see the writing on the wall, but you have to kind of connect those dots before you can get the full picture. So Roland Hughes said, I didn't know that, I don't know why they were getting out. They could have been somebody. And I agree. They really should have probably stuck in there. They created a fantastic line of cameras that were actually doing fairly well. So for them to just go, F it, they had to have been in some serious financial straits for it not to be working out for them that bad. He also said, Roland Hewitt also says, the first and only 28 megapixel APS-C size sensor. And it's true. Video Futsmix, I'm going to assume that I butchered that, but it says, I have the NX2000 and the NX30, and they're great cameras, by the way. And everything that they created are still holding up really, really well, even to this day. So Roland Hewitt also says, I would have liked to have seen them put out a full frame camera. And a lot of people were asking for it. And I don't know why they would spend all the time and all the resources and all of the extra cash to create a facility, to really go balls to the wall with an imaging company, and then literally dip. Like I said, it had to have been that bad for them not to even try and stay in a little bit longer. Sully says, yep, once smartphones get the same quality as full frame cameras, that'll be it. Cameras as we know it will become like film. And, there'll be a lot of us that probably still have our old, DSLRs, that old school tech, or our old mirrorless cameras, all that old stuff, it won't be around anymore. Alberto says, I have the NX300 and it's pretty sad. But there's absolutely positively nothing that's going to prevent you from using the camera even to this day. So I wouldn't even worry about it. I mean, these cameras are holding up pretty damn good. And they're already, 3 years old at this point? So it's not like Samsung didn't create some good stuff and you found value in it when you bought it. But they never really made that many lenses for their cameras. So it's not that it's horrible, that you won't ever be able to use it. It's just really sad that you couldn't have seen them, bloom into something way bigger and way better than what they did. Because I think they really had the potential. I mean, they were knocking it out of the park with so many different cameras. It was amazing how how quickly they they gobbled up a small section of the camera market, but just they floundered there at the end, and they just couldn't make it translate into a profit, I suppose, because the profit motive is what either sees you through a bad patch or shit cans you right on out of there. So they must have not been making their money back, and they must have also projected the fact that there's no way that they were going to be able to recoup their investment. So Sully also says, nostalgic tools photographers once used to aid them in getting the shot. Meanwhile, the 12-year-old down the street just made Henry Cartier-Bresson look like an amateur with his iPhone 15 auto mode. Oh, that's depressing. Again, I've always said that it's not the gear that you have, especially with these people that are doing video. It's going to have a whole lot more to do with your camera moves, so your cinematography. It's going to have a whole lot more to do with your lighting, the composition. Those have always been the things that have separated great cinema from just a great video. You know what I mean? So it's storytelling. It's camera movements and the way you light scenes, and those are the things that are going to make the difference. Eventually, everything will become very neutral as far as gear. It will reach our physical plateau at some point. I don't know when that will be, but eventually you're just not going to be able to make glass any sharper. You're not going to be able to make, it just any better. Light has a physical limit. So that's going to be where we end up, and then we're just going to have to move on from there. So what that next evolution is going to look like, I have no idea. But yeah, that would be depressing as shit. Zoom Chris says, there is a path to follow right now, and that should be light, fast, and accurate. Whomever derails from this path will eventually disappear. That's true. Technia says, B-Script is super cool. Never thought this has existed. Interchangeable lenses on smartphone is definitely the future, because what's stopping smartphones at the moment is the long range. Indeed. Zoom Chris also says, I just watched the video. Amazing stuff. Hopefully will be available soon. As a matter of fact, I already have the B-Script. I didn't get the depth of field adapter. It just didn't look that good. And the early reviews from the Mark 1 just didn't seem like it was going to be all that intuitive. It just felt very clunky. Now, for the hardcore filmmaker that wanted to try and make a film with their iPhone, which is odd, but at the same time, there were a few people that did it. They probably didn't mind it. So I hope that the second generation is a little bit better. I'm going to check out more review videos as real world tests become available. But, I think that this is the way it's going to end up going. Like I said, I could be wrong, but that's what my gut is telling me, that eventually one day we will in fact we're going to have interchangeable lenses on our smartphones. Hell, and who knows what a smartphone's going to look like in 10 years, right? No one thought that anyone would ever give up their film for digital. No one ever thought that they would give up their DSLR for a mirrorless camera. So the market is constantly and ever changing. So for us to... Tech Tennis says, yes, imagine we have a 3D printed chassis where you could just insert the phone and just attach the lens onto it. He said it'd be cool. You could interchange the lenses, and you'd also have good ergonomics. Just to get an EM1 Mark II, was thinking about selling it, but that has nothing. But that's nothing that can replace it at the moment. So guess I'll just keep it. And again, very, very difficult to move away from what you're comfortable with or what you know, because moving into the unknown, I'm open to the idea. I mean, who the hell wants to carry around a secondary piece of gear when this is already going to be in your pocket? Just carry a small futuristic zoom lens that is good from 20 all the way out to 600 millimeters, and has got perfect clear sharpness. It's an f1.8 through the entire focal range. I mean, it could happen. I don't know, but it could happen. Eric says, just tuning in. Sorry if you didn't hear about Samsung being officially over. Yeah, they are, but they did say that they were having some aspirations of creating a new camera market. So I'm interested to see what they end up coming up with. Tech Tennis says, hey Mark, what camera companies do you see that will survive in the long run? Most likely the innovative ones. Absolutely. And those are the only ones. I mean, you can rest on your laurels for a little while. You can rest on your reputation for a little while, but you are not going to stay there indefinitely. Eventually you're going to have to build some new shit. You're going to have to wow some people. There's no way for you to yank that money out of someone's pocket if it's not groundbreaking. It's an earth-shattering. And all of us these days, we want every single camera to literally blow our skirt up every single time, and if it doesn't, we're going, maybe I could wait, because the next best thing is just right around the corner, and I know it. So camera companies have to be on point, and they literally have to self-cannibalize each other constantly in order to have the next best thing. I mean, and it has to be just earth-shattering and groundbreaking, or else no one's going to buy it. They're like, that was pretty good. Good attempt. Good try, buddy. But someone else is just about to release this new blah, 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 or whatever in literally a month, so I'm just going to wait. and no one will buy it. And that's the problem. I was talking to Joe Jackson earlier today on Skype, and we were talking about how, you can't buy something today and be satisfied with it for, say, 5 years. Because the news travels entirely too fast now. Before the internet, you could buy a camera. Most people did. You could buy a camera and it would sit in your closet and you would take some pictures with it during birthdays and anniversaries and all that kind of stuff. And it's still good. And we just didn't talk to people as much over a consistent basis like we do now. Like, it's just always, hey man, what'd you get? Right on. What's it do? Oh, well, mine does this. And so there's that constant exchange of, dude, my ding dong is bigger than your ding dong, and you will never be as good as me because your ding dong is smaller. So then that encourages all of us to go, oh, well, here, Sony, take my effing money. And then, you've got a new camera, even though you didn't really need it. Zoom Chris says, I am an iPhone video freak. I just don't want to film on something else. So for me, the B-Script is a great option. Plus, I love portability and lightweight that I can carry always wherever I go. Again, that's true. And I'm the same way. I'm always advocating for smaller, lighter, more efficient. All the time. So if I can get even close to similar results with a cell phone one day as I do with an APS-C size sensor, hell, even a micro four thirds sensor. It's not like micro four thirds is not that big. I mean, there's a very real possibility that at some point in the future that we could have optically stabilized micro four thirds sensors inside of a camera phone or a smartphone. I'm looking more toward the fact that we're probably going to see a 1-inch type sensor in cell phones before we do micro four thirds, but there's a very real possibility. I mean, in a phablet, you could easily get one of those size sensors in here. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, for real. So I appreciate all you guys hanging out with me today. I love talking about this kind of stuff. I am really, really upset and disappointed that we have lost a camera manufacturer. Because when you have multiple camera manufacturers competing for your business, that is what drives innovation. And I'm really sad that Samsung has decided not to stay in the game. I would have really liked to have at least stayed in the game, in their home country or, in this market. The American market would be more willing to accept a few flaws here and there. But if the money just genuinely isn't there, they have a responsibility to those shareholders. They're just not going to start, a trend of hemorrhaging money, or they will, in fact, go out of business for real. The only thing saving Samsung, in a lot of respects, is their smartphone line. So it just made good financial sense for them to get out of the camera market and just focus on camera products that go into other items and not just focus exclusively on the digital imaging. So at any rate, guys, like I said, I want to thank everyone. If you guys have enjoyed this content, please consider heading on over to my Patreon page and support me. $1 or $2 is totally fine, and I definitely appreciate it. And if not, I totally understand. It's very tight in these trying financial times, but any help is always appreciated. So at any rate, guys, thanks again so much for hanging out. I will see you in the next one. Peace.